The twin suns of New Busan were setting over the rocky hills when Minho slipped past the colony's outer fence. He knew he was not supposed to be out here. His parents had told him 100 times that the perimeter zone was dangerous. But Minho needed those blue crystals for his science project, and they only grew in the forbidden areas. He was 12 years old and small for his age. His backpack bounced against his shoulders as he climbed over the rough terrain. The rocks here were sharp and black, left over from ancient volcanoes. Between them grew patches of the strange blue crystals that made his teacher's eyes light up with excitement. Minho had been collecting samples for about an hour when he heard it. A loud crash echoed from somewhere ahead, followed by the smell of burning metal. His heart jumped in his chest. Nothing good made sounds like that. He should have run back to the colony. That was what any smart person would do, but curiosity pulled at him like a rope, dragging his feet forward instead of back. He climbed over one more ridge and looked down into a deep ravine. There, wedged between two massive boulders, was something that did not belong on New Busan. It was a pod of some kind, about the size of his family's transport vehicle. Black smoke leaked from cracks in its hull. The metal was scorched and bent, like something had chewed on it and spit it out. Minho's hand shook as he climbed down into the ravine. Every kid in the colony knew about the Vrakai. They were the monsters of space, the 7-foot-tall nightmares with armor-plated skin and claws that could tear through steel. His teachers showed videos of their warships destroying entire stations. His father checked the defense shields twice every night because of them, and this was definitely a Vrakai escape pod. He should run. He should scream. He should do anything except move closer. But Minho kept walking until he stood right next to the pod. Through a broken viewport, he could see inside. The alien was huge, even curled up in the small space. Its body was covered in plates of natural armor that looked like dark gray stone. 4 arms hung limp, each one ending in wicked claws. The alien's head was shaped like a wedge with multiple eyes arranged in a pattern that made Minho dizzy to look at. And it was bleeding. Thick purple blood pooled under the alien's body. One of the armor plates on its side had cracked wide open, showing raw flesh underneath. The alien's breathing was shallow and wet-sounding. It was dying. Minho stood frozen, his brain screaming 2 different messages at the same time. This thing was a monster that ate children in bedtime stories, but it was also a living creature that was suffering and alone and about to die. His mother's voice echoed in his memory. She was a xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. She had once told him that every living thing wanted the same basic things: to survive, to be safe, to not be in pain. Even the scary ones, Minho made his choice. He ran back to the colony as fast as his legs could carry him. 2 hours later, he returned with a bag full of stolen medical supplies. His mother kept an emergency kit in her lab for treating injured animals. Minho had taken bandages, antiseptic spray, pain medication, and synthetic tissue patches. He had also grabbed 3 bottles of water and some protein bars from the kitchen. Getting into the pod was hard. The door was jammed and Minho had to squeeze through the broken viewport. Inside, the alien still had not moved. Up close, it smelled like burnt rubber and something else, something almost sweet. Minho's hands would not stop shaking as he opened the medical kit. He had watched his mother patch up injured creatures before. He tried to remember everything she had taught him. First, stop the bleeding. He sprayed antiseptic over the cracked armor plate, making the alien's body twitch. Working quickly, Minho pressed tissue patches over the worst wounds. The patches were designed to bond with any organic material, and they held even against the alien's strange purple blood. Then he wrapped bandages around the alien's midsection, going around and around until he ran out. It was not pretty, but the bleeding slowed down. Minho injected pain medication near the wound site, guessing at the dose. Too little would not help. Too much might kill. He chose an amount in the middle and hoped. Finally, he poured water over the alien's mouthparts. Some of it dribbled in. The alien's throat moved, swallowing automatically. Minho sat back against the pod wall, exhausted and terrified and proud all at once.
He had just saved a Vrakai warrior's life.
If anyone found out, they would think he was crazy. They might lock him up. They definitely would never let him leave the colony again. But as he looked at the unconscious alien, wrapped in bandages and breathing a little easier now, Minho did not feel like he had made a mistake. He felt like he had finally done something that mattered. The next 3 days were the hardest of Minho's life. He snuck out to the ravine every chance he got, always bringing more supplies. He cleaned the aliens' wounds and changed bandages. He brought food and water. He even dragged a solar blanket from his room to keep the alien warm at night. His parents noticed he was acting strange. His father asked if everything was okay at school. His mother wanted to know why her medical supplies kept disappearing. Minho lied to both of them, and the guilt sat in his stomach like a rock. On the fourth day, the alien woke up. Minho was adjusting a bandage when one of the alien's eyes suddenly focused on him. Then another eye. Then all of them at once. The alien's hand shot out faster than Minho could blink, wrapping around his wrist in a grip like an iron band. Minho froze, the claws pressed against his skin, not quite breaking through. The alien's mouth opened, showing rows of teeth designed for tearing meat. It made a sound like rocks grinding together. They stayed like that for a long moment. The alien stared at Minho. Minho stared back, too scared to breathe. Then the alien's grip loosened. It looked down at the bandages covering its body. Its eyes moved to the empty medical packages scattered around the pod, back to Minho's terrified face. The alien let go of Minho's wrist and made another sound, softer this time. It pointed at itself, then at the bandages, then at Minho. The meaning was clear even without words. You did this. You helped me. Minho nodded, not trusting his voice. The alien slumped back against the pod wall. It looked tired and confused and perhaps a little bit grateful. Minho carefully backed toward the viewport, ready to run if needed. But the alien did not attack. It just watched him go with those strange multiple eyes. And Minho thought he saw something in that gaze that he had never expected to see in a monster. He saw a person. When Minho came back the next morning with a salvage translator unit from the colony's recycling center, the alien was waiting for him, and that was when everything truly began to change. The translator was old and half-broken, but it worked well enough. Minho held it between himself and the alien, waiting to see what would happen. The device clicked and hummed as it tried to make sense of the grinding rock sounds coming from the alien's throat. You, small. Why help? The words came out choppy and strange, but Minho understood them. Because you were hurt, Minho said simply. My mom says all living things deserve help when they're suffering. The alien made a sound that the translator could not process. Its armor plates shifted in a way that might have been surprise. Your breeding parent teaches mercy. Humans show no mercy. Humans take and destroy. Minho frowned. That's not true. We're not all bad. I have seen your colonies spread across worlds like infection. I have watched your ships burn Vrakai settlements. You call us monsters, but you are the ones who came to our space and took what was not yours. The words hit Minho like a punch. In school, they learned that humans had to expand into space to survive. They needed new worlds and resources. The teachers never talked about who was already living on those worlds. I didn't know, Minho whispered. The alien studied him with those multiple eyes. No, you are young. They do not teach their young the truth. My people do the same. We teach our children that all humans are evil, that showing mercy is weakness. The alien touched its bandaged side carefully. But you saved my life. This does not match what I was taught. Over the next week, they talked. The alien's name was Thargax, though the translator made it sound like Targax in human speech. He had been a warrior in the Vrakai Defense Forces, trained since childhood to fight and kill without question. But something had changed during his last mission. His unit had captured a group of human miners on a disputed asteroid. The War Master ordered them to execute all the prisoners as a message to other human colonies. Thargax had looked at the frightened faces of those miners and saw something he was not supposed to see. He saw people, not enemies. When he refused to follow the order, the other warriors turned on him. They called him a traitor and a coward. He barely escaped in a damaged pod before they could kill him. He had been fleeing for 3 days when his pod crashed on New Busan. Minho brought food from the colony, and they shared meals in the cramped escape pod. Thargax could eat human food, though he said it tasted strange to him. He particularly liked the spicy noodles that Minho's mother made. The first time Thargax tried kimchi, his armor plates rattled and what Minho learned was laughter. This food bites back, Thargax said, his mouth parts clicking with amusement. It is warrior food, Minho laughed too. It felt surreal to be sharing lunch with a creature that was supposed to eat him, not eat with him. Thargax taught Minho about the galaxy beyond human space. He explained how Vrakai had once been peaceful farmers and builders. They had created beautiful cities on their homeworld, places where art and music mattered more than weapons. But when aggressive species began invading, the Vrakai had to change. They became warriors to survive. We armor our bodies, Thargax said, tapping his chest plates. But we also armor our hearts. We forget how to be soft. How to be kind. My people say that kindness is the first casualty of war. Is that true? Minho asked. Thargax was quiet for a moment. I thought it was, until a small human child found me dying and chose to help instead of kill. You could have told your people where I was. They would have rewarded you. But you came back day after day with bandages and food and water. You sat with me so I would not die alone. You showed me that kindness is not dead. It is just sleeping, waiting for someone brave enough to wake it up. One evening, Minho arrived at the ravine to find Thargax outside the pod. He had recovered enough to move around, though he still moved slowly and carefully. The alien was standing under the stars, all four arms spread wide, his face tilted toward the sky. What are you doing? Minho asked, remembering. Thargax said softly. When I was very young, before warrior training, my parent would take me outside at night. We would look at the stars, and she would tell me stories about the old days. Days when Vrakai traveled to explore, not to conquer. Minho stood next to him, looking up at the same stars. Do you miss her? Every day. She died in a human attack on our colony when I was 10 seasons old. That is when I joined the warriors. That is when I learned to hate. Thargax looked down at Minho. But hate is heavy. It weighs on you until you cannot stand straight anymore. You, small one, you remind me that there are other ways to be. My name is Minho, the boy said. You can use it. Minho, Thargax repeated, testing the word. It is a good name, strong. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the twin moons rise over the horizon. Minho felt something warm in his chest, something he could not quite name. He had never had a brother or sister. He was an only child, but sitting here with Thargax felt like how he imagined having a sibling would feel, like having someone who understood you, who would protect you, who made you feel less alone in the universe. That feeling was shattered 3 days later when Hyejin followed him to the ravine. Hyejin was in Minho's class at school. She was smart and curious and noticed everything. She had been asking Minho questions for days about why he kept disappearing after school. Where was he going? What was he doing? Why did he always look so tired and worried? Minho had tried to throw her off the trail, but Hyejin was stubborn. She followed him one afternoon, staying far enough back that he did not see her. When Minho climbed down into the ravine and started talking to something inside the crashed pod, Hyejin crept close enough to see. Minho heard her gasp. He turned to find his classmate staring at Thargax with wide, terrified eyes. Hyejin, wait, it's not what you think. But she was already scrambling backward, trying to climb out of the ravine. Minho ran after her and caught her arm. Please, he said desperately. Please don't tell anyone. He's not dangerous. He's my friend. That's a Vrakai, Hyejin shouted. They kill people. They destroy colonies. What are you doing? Surviving, came Thargax's voice from behind them. He had moved to the pod entrance but came no closer. Your friend saved my life. I owe him a debt that can never be repaid. Hyejin stared at the alien, trembling. Minho could see her brain working, trying to match this reality with everything she had been taught about the monster species. He's telling the truth, Minho said quietly. Thargax was going to die. I helped him. And he's helped me understand that everything we learned about the Vrakai isn't the whole story. They're people, Hyejin, just like us. The colony will kill him if they find out he's here, Hyejin said. I know. They'll probably punish you too for hiding him. I know that too. Hyejin looked between Minho and Thargax several times. Finally, she let out a long breath. You're an idiot, Minho. Probably. But you're also the bravest idiot I know. She squared her shoulders. Okay, I won't tell. But you need to be more careful. Commander Daehyun has been running extra patrols. There are Vrakai ships in the system. Everyone thinks they're coming to attack us. Minho's blood went cold. They're hunting him. They're hunting Thargax. Thargax made a low grinding sound. They will not stop until they find me. I have brought danger to your home, small warrior. I should leave before they destroy your colony looking for me. No, Minho said firmly. You're not healed enough, and I'm not letting you face them alone. That night, Thargax performed a ceremony that Minho did not fully understand. The alien used his claws to cut a small mark into his own armor plate, then made a matching mark on a piece of metal from the pod. He gave the metal piece to Minho. In my culture, Thargax explained, warriors can choose brothers through combat, but there is an older way, from before we became a warrior race. You can choose family through shared survival, through protecting each other when the world wants you dead. You saved my life, Minho. You have stood beside me when you should have run away. By the old laws of my people, you are my brother now, and I am yours. Minho held the marked metal piece, feeling its weight. Brothers, he repeated. Brothers, Thargax agreed. Until the stars burn out. The translator was old and half broken, but it worked well enough. Minho held it between himself and the alien, waiting to see what would happen. The device clicked and hummed as it tried to make sense of the grinding rock sounds coming from the alien's throat. You, small. Why help? The words came out choppy and strange, but Minho understood them. Because you were hurt, Minho said simply. My mom says all living things deserve help when they're suffering. The alien made a sound that the translator could not process. Its armor plates shifted in a way that might have been surprise. Your breeding parent teaches mercy. Humans show no mercy. Humans take and destroy, Minho frowned. That's not true. We're not all bad. I have seen your colonies spread across worlds like infection. I have watched your ships burn Vrakai settlements. You call us monsters, but you are the ones who came to our space and took what was not yours. The words hit Minho like a punch. In school, they learned that humans had to expand into space to survive. They needed new worlds and resources. The teachers never talked about who was already living on those worlds. I didn't know, Minho whispered. The alien studied him with those multiple eyes. No, you are young. They do not teach their young the truth. My people do the same. The Vrakai ships arrived on a Tuesday morning, dropping out of faster-than-light travel like dark birds descending on prey. There were 3 of them, smaller than warships but heavily armed. The colony's defense system screamed warnings that made everyone run for shelter. Minho was in school when the alarm started. His teacher, Mr. Dongyuk, immediately began herding students toward the underground bunkers. But Minho slipped away in the chaos, running toward the ravine. He had to warn Thargax. He found his brother already awake and alert, staring at the sky where the ships hung like storm clouds. They found me, Thargax said quietly. I knew they would eventually. Krelnak is the best hunter in the Vrakai fleet. He trained me. He knows how I think, where I would hide. Then we hide you better, Minho said, breathing hard from his run. Or we get you off planet somehow. There is nowhere to hide from Krelnak, and I cannot leave without a ship. Thargax turned to face Minho, and the boy saw something he had never seen before in his brother's eyes. Fear. I will not let them hurt your people looking for me. I will surrender. No. Minho grabbed Thargax's arm, his small hand barely wrapping around the thick limb. There has to be another way. Before Thargax could answer, the colony's communication system crackled to life. A voice boomed across every speaker, translated into human language. People of New Busan. I am War Master Krelnak of the Vrakai Confederacy. We seek a criminal who escaped our justice. He is dangerous and unstable. We request permission to search your territory. In exchange, we offer technology and trade agreements. We mean you no harm if you cooperate. Minho's father, Jihoon, came home that evening looking exhausted. Minho was sitting at the kitchen table, pushing food around his plate and trying not to look as guilty as he felt. Commander Daehyun agreed to let them search, Jihoon said, dropping into a chair. The Vrakai will send small teams out tomorrow. They say they're looking for one of their own who committed war crimes. Minho's mother, Somin, shook her head. I don't trust them. Why would they come all this way for one individual? Apparently this individual is important. A warrior who refused orders and helped human prisoners escape. Jihoon rubbed his eyes. Part of me wants to help them find this warrior. He sounds like a good person. But another part of me wonders if he's only good because he's useful to us. Minho wanted to scream that it was not like that at all. That Thargax was genuinely kind, genuinely changed. But he kept his mouth shut and excused himself to his room. He waited until his parents were asleep, then snuck out again. When he reached the ravine, he found Heejin already there, talking quietly with Thargax. We need a plan, Heejin was saying. The hunters will cover this area by tomorrow afternoon. They have scanning equipment that can detect Vrakai biology. There's an old mining facility, Minho said, climbing down to join them, about 20 kilometers north. It was abandoned years ago, but the communications equipment might still work. If we can get there, Thargax could try to contact the Vrakai rebels, the ones who think like he does. Thargax shook his head. The journey is too dangerous, and there is no guarantee the rebels can help in time. It's better than giving up, Minho insisted. They argued for another hour before Thargax finally agreed. They would leave before dawn, traveling through the rough terrain where scanners had trouble reading clearly. It was risky, but staying put was certain death. Minho crept back home just before sunrise. He grabbed a backpack and filled it with supplies, trying to be quiet. He was stuffing in a water bottle when the light in the hallway clicked on. His father stood in the doorway wearing his sleeping clothes and an expression of deep concern. "Minho," Jihoon said softly, "where are you going?" For a moment Minho considered lying, but he was so tired of lying, so tired of carrying the secret alone. The words spilled out of him in a rush. "Dad, I found him. The Vrakai they're looking for. He was hurt and dying and I helped him. And he's not what they say he is. He's good, Dad, he's kind. He refused to kill innocent people and they want to execute him for it. He's my friend. He's my brother, and I can't let them take him." Jihoon stood very still, processing this information. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. "You've been hiding a Vrakai warrior? For how long?" 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Jihoon sat down heavily on the couch like his legs could not hold him anymore. "Minho, do you understand what this means? If anyone finds out, they'll think you're a traitor. They'll think our whole family is compromised. I could lose my job. Your mother could lose her research license. We could all be deported." "I know," Minho said, tears starting to fall. "I know, and I'm sorry, but Dad, he would have died. He was bleeding out in a crashed pod and he was so scared and alone. How could I just walk away?" Jihoon looked at his son for a long time. Minho could see the war happening behind his father's eyes. Duty against love. Society against family. What was right against what was safe. Finally, Jihoon stood up. "Where is he now?" "In a ravine past the perimeter fence. But we're leaving soon. We're going to the old mining facility to try to contact Vrakai rebels who might help. That facility is 40 kilometers through dangerous terrain. You'll never make it, especially not with hunting parties searching everywhere." Jihoon ran his hand through his hair. "But if you take the old maintenance tunnels, you could get there in half the time. They run under most of the rough ground." Minho stared at his father. You're going to help?" "I'm going to do what you did," Jihoon said. "Make a choice based on what's right, not what's easy. If this warrior is truly what you say he is, then helping him is the human thing to do. And if I punish my son for showing compassion, what kind of father am I?" They woke Soman and told her everything. She cried and hugged Minho and said she was proud and terrified in equal measure. Then she packed more supplies and gave Minho her personal medical kit. "If you're going to save lives," she said, "you should have proper equipment." Just before Minho left, Jihoon pulled him aside. "Your mother and I will try to slow down the search parties. But son, you need to understand, even if you succeed, even if you help your friend escape, things will never be the same. You've seen the other side now. You can't unsee it. And that changes everything." "I know," Minho said. "But isn't that a good thing? Shouldn't things change?" Jihoon smiled sadly. "Yes, I suppose they should. Be careful out there." Minho met Hyejin and Thargax at the entrance to the maintenance tunnels. His father had given him access codes and a map. The tunnels were dark and cramped, and Thargax had to bend low to fit through many sections. But they moved quickly, covering ground that would have taken all day above surface. They were halfway to the mining facility when they heard sounds behind them. Footsteps, multiple sets. "Moving fast, the hunters," Thargax whispered. "They've picked up our trail." "How?" Hyejin asked. "These tunnels should block their scanners. Krelnak is clever. He must have guessed we would use underground routes." Thargax pushed Minho and Hyejin forward. "Run, I will hold them off." "No," Minho said. "We stay together. Brothers, remember?" They ran through the dark tunnels, their footsteps echoing off metal walls. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Thargax's breathing was labored. His wounds had healed, but he was not at full strength yet. They burst out of a tunnel exit into blinding sunlight. The old mining facility stood before them, a collection of rusted buildings and ancient equipment. But between them and the communications tower stood 3 Vrakai warriors in full armor, weapons drawn. And leading them was the largest Vrakai Minho had ever seen. His armor was decorated with battle scars and trophies. His eyes were cold and calculating. Thargax, War Master Krelnak said, his voice like grinding stone. You have led us on a long chase. And you brought pets with you. How disappointing. Thargax stepped in front of Minho and Hyejin, all four arms spread in a protective stance. Krelnak, teacher, you know why I ran. You know what you ordered me to do was wrong. Wrong? Krelnak laughed, a harsh sound. You speak of wrong while standing with humans? While protecting the very species that killed your parent? They are not all the same, Thargax said. Just as we are not all the same. This human child saved my life. He showed me that mercy is not weakness. That choosing peace is the bravest thing a warrior can do. Krelnak raised his weapon. Then you have truly fallen far. Goodbye, student. You could have been great. But before he could fire, Minho stepped forward, standing beside Thargax instead of behind him. If you want to kill him, the boy said, his voice shaking but determined, you'll have to kill me too. Because we're brothers, and brothers don't abandon each other. The War Master stared at the small human child standing next to his former student. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Confusion. Perhaps even doubt. That moment was all they needed. Thargax moved faster than Minho thought possible. He grabbed both children and threw himself sideways just as energy blasts scorched the ground where they had been standing. They rolled behind a pile of old mining equipment, metal singing as shots ricocheted off it. Stay down, Thargax commanded, positioning himself between the children and the hunters. Krelnak, please, Thargax shouted over the noise. This does not have to end in blood. You made your choice when you betrayed your people, the War Master called back. Now face the consequences. More shots. Minho pressed himself against the rusted metal, his heart hammering so hard he thought it might break out of his chest. Beside him, Hyejin was breathing in short, panicked gasps. Then cutting through the chaos came a new sound. Human voices, shouting, running footsteps. A group of colony security officers appeared over the ridge, led by a young man named Kyung-soo. They took in the scene with wide eyes. Vrakai warriors attacking two human children and another Vrakai who was protecting them. Hold fire, Kyung-soo shouted to his team, then to Krelnak. What is happening here? You said you wanted to search peacefully. This is Vrakai business, Krelnak snarled. The criminal is interfering with your young. We are protecting you. Protecting? Thargax's voice was bitter. You were about to fire on children. Kyung-soo looked confused and angry. He raised his weapon, not sure who to point it at. Other security officers spread out, creating a tense standoff. Vrakai on one side, humans on the other, and in the middle, a Vrakai warrior crouched over two kids. Everyone lower your weapons, Kyung-soo ordered. Now, we need to figure out what's actually happening here. That was when Minho saw it. While everyone was focused on the confrontation, Hyejin had pulled out her tablet. She was typing frantically, connecting to the facility's old communication system. I'm sending a signal, she whispered to Minho. To the Vrakai rebels. If they're monitoring this sector, they'll hear it. How do you know how to do that? My dad's a communications engineer. I've been watching him work since I could walk. Her fingers flew across the screen. There, signal sent. Now we just have to hope someone's listening. Minutes felt like hours. Everyone stood frozen, weapons raised, waiting for someone to make the first move. Minho could see sweat on Kyung-soo's forehead. The young security officer was maybe 20 years old and he looked terrified. Finally, a voice crackled over Thargax's communication device. This is Siak of the Free Vrakai movement. We received your distress call. We are 8 hours away. Can you hold? 8 hours. Minho's stomach sank. They would never last 8 hours, but Thargax responded calmly. We will try. Krelnak is here. He must not be allowed to continue his mission. Krelnak? Siak's voice sharpened. That changes things. We have evidence he has been provoking conflicts to maintain his power. The Council needs to know this. Can you access a wider broadcast system? Thargax looked at the mining facility's communication tower. Possibly. If we can reach it, then reach it. What you are about to do will change everything. Minho understood what was needed. He stood up despite Thargax trying to pull him back down. Kyung-soo, he called out. I need to show you something. On my tablet. It's important. Minho, get down, Kyung-soo shouted. Please, just look. Then you can decide what to do. Something in Minho's voice made the security officer pause. Slowly. Move slowly. Minho pulled out his tablet and walked toward Kyung-soo with his hands visible. Behind him, he heard Thargax make a worried sound, but his brother did not stop him. When Minho reached Kyung-soo, he held out the tablet. I've been recording everything for the past 3 weeks, since I found Thargax. Watch this, all of it. Then tell me he's a monster. Kyung-soo took the tablet with one hand, keeping his weapon pointed at the ground with the other. He started the first video. It showed Minho treating Thargax's wounds, talking softly to the unconscious warrior. Then another video of Thargax waking up, terrified and defensive. Videos of them sharing meals. Thargax laughing at kimchi. Thargax teaching Minho about Vrakai history. Thargax crying as he talked about his dead parent. Most importantly, there was video of Thargax explaining why he fled. His voice translated but full of emotion, describing the moment he refused to execute prisoners, describing how his people had become so consumed by war that they forgot why they were fighting. We have lost ourselves, Thargax said in the video, his armor plates dim with sadness. We have become the monsters we once feared. And I cannot be that anymore. I will not. Kyung-soo watched the entire thing. When he finished, his hands were shaking. He looked at Thargax with new eyes. This is real? All of this? Every word, Minho said. He's not what they told us. He's just someone trying to do the right thing, like you. Like me. Krelnak saw what was happening and roared in anger. You show them lies. Propaganda. I am your teacher, Thargax. How dare you betray everything I taught you? You taught me to fight, Thargax called back, standing tall now. But you never taught me what to fight for. You never questioned if the fight was even necessary. You kept us at war because war gave you power, and when I saw the truth, you tried to kill me for it. Proof, Krelnak demanded. Where is your proof? Thargax looked at Minho, and the boy understood. He ran to Hyejin, who was still connected to the communication system. Can you broadcast what's on my tablet? To everyone? Humans and Vrakai? I can try. Her fingers danced across the screen. The facility system is old, but it's powerful. If I boost the signal, yes, I can broadcast to the entire sector. Every ship, every colony, every communication device within 10 light years. Do it, Minho said. Wait, Kyung-soo said. Kid, if you do this, everyone will know you hit a Vrakai. Your family will be investigated. Your life will never be normal again. Minho looked at Thargax, who was watching him with all those strange eyes. His brother, the person who had shown him that courage, was not about being fearless. It was about doing what was right even when you were terrified. Normal was never going to last, Minho said. Do it, Hyejin. She pressed the button. All across the sector, on human ships and Vrakai vessels, in colonies and stations, screens flickered to life. They showed a small human boy treating an injured Vrakai with gentle hands. They showed conversations between a child and a warrior, building bridges across species with nothing but honesty and compassion. On the new Busan colony, Jihoon and Soman stood in the town square with hundreds of other colonists, watching the broadcast on the big public screen. Soman grabbed her husband's hand and squeezed tight. Their son was showing the galaxy something it had never seen before. On Vrakai warships, warriors stopped what they were doing and stared at screens showing one of their own speaking truth. Thargax's words echoed through metal corridors, making armor-clad soldiers question things they had accepted their entire lives. The broadcast showed Thargax's brother ritual, the moment he declared Minho family. It showed them laughing together. It showed Thargax teaching Minho about the peaceful history of the Vrakai before war consumed them. It showed a boy and a warrior learning to see each other as people instead of enemies. And then the final video played. The one Minho had recorded just last night after his father agreed to help. In it, Thargax spoke directly to the camera. My name is Thargax. I am a warrior of the Vrakai Confederacy. I was trained to kill without question, to follow orders without thought. But I met a human child who showed me that questioning is not weakness, that mercy is not failure, that maybe after all these years of war there is another way. Thargax's voice grew stronger. War Master Krelnak has been provoking attacks on human colonies to justify his military campaigns. He has executed fellow Vrakai who spoke of peace. He keeps our people in a state of constant war because without war he has no power. I have proof of this. Data files from his personal systems, communications with other war leaders. I fled not because I am a coward, but because I am a warrior who finally found something worth fighting for. Peace. The broadcast ended. For a moment, the entire sector seemed to hold its breath. Then on the Vrakai ships, something unprecedented happened. Warriors began lowering their weapons. Not all of them, but enough. Enough that their commanders could not ignore it. At the standoff near the mining facility, Krelnak's own warriors looked at each other with uncertainty. One of them, the youngest, slowly lowered his weapon. "War Master," the young warrior said quietly. "Is it true? Have we been fighting to serve your ambition rather than our people? You dare question me?" Krelnak's voice was dangerous. "I dare question," the young warrior said, stronger now. "Because Thargax dared first. And if a human child can show mercy to our kind, then perhaps we can afford to show mercy to our own." More weapons lowered. Krelnak stood alone, his power crumbling around him like sand. And then the sky lit up with incoming ships. Suk and the Free Vrakai movement had arrived. The rebel ships were smaller than military vessels, but there were many of them. They descended from the sky like a flock of metal birds, surrounding the mining facility in a protective ring. Hatches opened and Vrakai warriors emerged. But these warriors wore different armor, simpler, less decorated with weapons and kill marks. One of them approached the standoff, walking with confident steps. He was older than Thargax, his armor weathered and scarred, but his eyes were clear and kind. "This was Siok, War Master Krelnak," Siok said formally. "By the authority of the Vrakai Council of Elders, I am placing you under arrest for crimes against our people. You will face trial for falsifying military reports, provoking unnecessary conflicts, and executing fellow Vrakai without proper judgment." Krelnak's armor plates flared with rage. "The Council has no authority over military matters. I answer only to the War Council and they support my actions." "The War Council has been suspended pending investigation," Siok replied calmly. "The broadcast that just reached every corner of Vrakai space has caused quite a reaction. Many warriors are refusing orders. Many families are demanding answers about sons and daughters sent to die in questionable battles. Your power is over, old teacher." For a moment, Minho thought Krelnak would fight. The War Master's claws extended, his body tensing for combat. But then he looked around and saw the truth. His own warriors would not support him. The humans were no longer his targets. The rebels outnumbered him. Slowly, Krelnak lowered his weapon. "This is not over. There are many who think as I do, who believe strength is the only way to survive." "Perhaps," Siok agreed. "But there are also many who are tired of war, who want to try something different. Your way has been tried for generations. Maybe it is time to try Thargax's way." Krelnak was taken into custody by rebel warriors. As they led him away, he looked at Thargax one last time. "You have destroyed everything I built, student." "No, teacher," Thargax replied quietly. "I have freed us from what you built. There is a difference." When the War Master was gone, Siok turned to Thargax and did something that made the human security officers gasp. He knelt, lowering himself to show respect. "Brother Thargax," Siok said, "you have shown courage beyond measure. You have given our people a chance at a future we had forgotten was possible. The Council wishes to speak with you, to learn from you, and to meet the human child who saved your life and perhaps saved us all." Siok looked at Minho, and his fierce face softened into something almost like a smile. "Young one, you showed mercy when you could have shown fear. You chose compassion when you could have chosen safety. You are what humans call a hero, I think." Minho felt his face burn red. "I'm not a hero. I couldn't let him die alone." "That," Siok said gently, "is exactly what makes you a hero. The best heroes are the ones who do not seek glory. They simply do what is right and hope it is enough." The next few hours were a blur. More ships arrived. Human ships from the colonial government, diplomatic vessels from both species, reporters, officials, everyone wanted to know about the boy who befriended a Vrakai warrior and the warrior who chose peace over orders. Minho's parents arrived with Commander Daehyun, who looked confused and angry and impressed all at once. There were questions, so many questions, but every time someone tried to take Minho away from Thargax, the Vrakai warrior placed a protective hand on the boy's shoulder, and Minho leaned against his brother's leg, and no one had the heart to separate them. Eventually, a human woman in diplomatic clothing arrived. Her name was Ambassador Yuna, and she had kind eyes behind her official expression. "I have been authorized by the Earth government to begin formal peace negotiations with the Vrakai Council," she told the crowd. This situation, while highly unusual, has opened a door that has been closed for too long. We have been at war for so many years that we forgot there was any other option. She looked at Minho and Thargax. These two have shown us that peace is not just possible. It is necessary. And it starts with seeing each other as people, not as enemies. But not everyone was happy. Some colonists shouted that the Vrakai could not be trusted. Some Vrakai warriors argued that humans would use any peace as an opportunity to attack. Years of hatred could not be undone in a single day. It was Hyejin who spoke up then, her voice carrying across the crowd. My grandmother told me once that every journey starts with a single step, even if the path is long and hard. Even if we do not know if we will make it to the end, we still have to take that first step. Minho took the first step when he helped Thargax. Now it is our turn to take the next step, and the step after that, until one day we look back and realize we have walked all the way to peace. The crowd was quiet after that, thinking, considering. Some faces remained angry, but others looked thoughtful. Change was slow, but it had to start somewhere. Over the next few months, things began to shift. It was not easy. There were protests on both sides. Some human colonies refused to participate in peace talks. Some Vrakai clans declared the negotiations a betrayal, but enough people on both sides were willing to try. Thargax became a representative for the Free Vrakai movement, speaking to councils and assemblies about the cost of endless war. He told them about the human child who saved him, about the families on both sides who just wanted to live without fear. Minho returned to school, but his life was forever changed. Some kids called him a traitor. Others called him a hero. He tried not to care about either label. He just focused on his classes and spent every free moment talking to Thargax through the communication systems. They spoke every day. Thargax would tell Minho about the negotiations, about stubborn politicians and brave warriors who dared to speak of peace. Minho would tell Thargax about school, about how some teachers were starting to teach real history instead of propaganda, about kids who were beginning to question what their parents had always told them about the Vrakai. Change is happening, Thargax said during one call, slowly but happening. There are talks of joint colonies, shared trading posts, cultural exchanges, things that were impossible 6 months ago. Because you were brave, Minho said, no, little brother, because you were kind. Bravery comes in many forms. Sometimes the bravest thing is to show mercy when everyone tells you to show strength. 6 months after the standoff at the mining facility, an official announcement was made. The first Vrakai cultural exchange program would begin. A small group of Vrakai would visit human colonies to teach and learn, to share culture and build bridges. And the first stop on that tour was New Busan. Minho stood at the colony's landing pad, his parents on either side of him. Commander Daehyun was there too, looking nervous but determined. Half the colony had gathered to watch the historic event. The Vrakai shuttle descended slowly, carefully. The ramp extended, and Thargax emerged into the sunlight of New Busan, official representative of his people, wearing ceremonial armor marked with symbols of peace. He saw Minho in the crowd and his armor plates brightened with joy. Minho broke away from his parents and ran across the landing pad. Thargax met him halfway, dropping to one knee so they could embrace properly. Brother, Thargax said softly. Brother, Minho replied, tears streaming down his face. You came back. I will always come back. We are family. Family does not abandon each other. Behind them, cameras recorded the moment. A human child hugging a Vrakai warrior, both of them crying tears of joy. The image would be broadcast across both human and Vrakai space, becoming a symbol of what was possible when fear was replaced with understanding. The visit lasted a week. Thargax gave presentations about Vrakai culture. He demonstrated their art, their music, their history before war consumed them. Some colonists remained hostile, but many others were fascinated. Children especially seemed eager to learn, asking endless questions about what it was like to have 4 arms and armor that could glow different colors. On the last night of the visit, Thargax and Minho sat together on a hill overlooking the colony, watching the twin moons rise just as they had done months ago in the ravine. The council wants me to visit more colonies, Thargax said. To continue building these bridges, it will mean traveling constantly. I will not be able to talk every day anymore. Minho felt sadness pull at his heart, but he understood. You have important work to do. Changing the galaxy is more important than daily calls. Nothing is more important than you, little brother. Thargax placed one hand on Minho's shoulder. But you are right. This work matters, and I think you should be part of it. Me? The council is establishing an education program. Human children and Vrakai young ones learning together, sharing histories, building friendships. They want you to help design it. You and Hyojin both. Who better to teach about crossing barriers than those who crossed them first? Minho thought about it. He was only 12, almost 13 now. He was not a diplomat or a teacher, but he was someone who had looked at a dying alien and seen a person who needed help. Maybe that was qualification enough. Okay, Minho said. I will help. But only if you promise to visit when you can. I promise. Brothers forever, remember? Until the stars burn out. They sat together in comfortable silence watching the stars that filled the sky.